I picked a wonderful day to take off of work. That was Monday. Melo got traded over the weekend. The Giants absolutely crumbled in typical Giants fashion. I owe him a stupid burrito.
They crumbled via 61 yards.
They gave up like enough field position in 38 seconds or something like that. Just bad, just absolutely bad. Ben McAdoo can't play head coach and offensive coordinator. I think we need an offensive coordinator, which would be fine. All besides the point, because Carmelo Anthony got traded. I want to discuss a few things, one of it being Puerto Rico, which is a little bit on the political side, but he penned a
for the Players Tribune.
I think the Players Tribune, he wanted to make sure that it's noted that, for one, our president has mentioned the NFL about 7 or 8 times in his Trump tweets, and he's mentioned nothing of Puerto Rico. The update to that is Trump is actually going down to Puerto Rico, I think in the next day or two, so at least there's been some broken amount of silence. I'm not just gonna take the, F this guy 24/7 stance on that one. However,
right, but Luther Strange can get only so many tweets about supporting somebody in Alabama.
I know. In the Puerto Rico thing, I think it's really important. One, Carmelo Anthony has his mother or his father is from Puerto Rico, so he has half of that in his bloodline, and obviously he cares, and he's urging those to give back because it's almost radio silent from Puerto Rico. We don't know how bad the damage really is. There's almost no communications, and there are US citizens who live down there. We have adopted them in some way, some form or another, and even the ones that aren't US citizens or have dual citizenship, even the ones that are just from Puerto Rico, they're your neighbors. Help them out. It's the idea we complain about first world problems. And it's one of the things that Carmelo Anthony, off the basketball court, has always been a charitable guy. Nobody really attacks Melo's character, as they really don't have to attack Melo's character, because off the court, he's been nothing but a shining example of what you should be. He's given back to Baltimore, New York City, specifically Brooklyn. He visits inmates in prison to help them rehabilitate. There's a bunch of documentaries on, I think, Vice Sports in that vein. But in the sense of him being done with New York, I just wanted to take note of the Puerto Rico thing because I think it's really important and I think it's not being talked about. But in the sense of the New York Knicks thing, I know you guys did some clips yesterday. You, Ben, and Michael. Did Michael do the Melo clip?
Michael doesn't touch the NBA.
Michael always talks.
It was just me and JR.
Yeah, Michael is very excited for the hockey season to begin, as he should be. Now, in the sense of Melo leaving New York, ever since James Dolan took over, there was the slow moving of the needle towards Melo apologist, which is kind of what I became, in a way. Dolan takes, not James Dolan, Phil Jackson. James Dolan will always be a problem, but Phil Jackson.
Lovely feet.
Lovely feet. Takes over and he tries to fix how it was goinking. And unfortunately, he surrounded Carmelo Anthony with a certain amount of teammates that obviously wasn't gonna work. Now, he is the star player. Carmelo Anthony is the franchise player. He was in his prime. You are supposed to put that load on your back. I mean, look at this, for example. I know the Thunder had technically some better pieces around Russell Westbrook, barely better, but better pieces around Westbrook last year, and he's in the Western Conference, and that's called putting the team on your back. He's obviously got an immensely different offensive skill set than Carmelo Anthony does. However, Melo in the Eastern Conference, which is weak, couldn't do it by himself, and it was never truly addressed or recognized. And on top of that, Phil Jackson was so much worse for the organization than Melo, and his legacy beforehand, not to be taken anything out of, because those 11 rings, those championships, we're not discrediting that. He was an awful New York Knicks president of basketball operations and made awful decisions. He handled Carmelo Anthony like he was the child and Melo was playing the role of the adult, and you have to credit that. Rarely do you ever see a superstar or just a star player or the franchise player or the most focused on player, right? He kind of started off as a superstar. He trailed it off to being just an all-star and a star, and now he just became the focal point, right? Because Melo's one-on-one isolation skill set, built for 1995, is still one of the most unguardable mid-range skill sets in the game. It's not like when he goes to the Thunder, if you think that you can defend and not fall for his jab step, you're still gonna fall for his jab step. You can't take that away from him. But because he's become pretty much a one-dimensional guy who can still score 20 points a game but doesn't fill in today's offense as well, he gets left behind and it doesn't work and it never translated to wins. But here is the important part. Because if you're gonna blame Melo more than you're gonna blame Phil, you were doing the wrong thing. Shane Larkin, J.R. Smith, Iman Shumpert, those being the best of the bunch. Alexei Shved, Samuel Dellenbart, Travis Ware, Cleanthony Early, Langston Galloway, Andre Bargnani, Lua Modson, Quincy Acey, Jason Smith, Lance Thomas, and Cole Aldrich.
Jeremy Lin.
Jeremy Lin. These are the players that Phil Jackson brought on board to play with Carmelo Anthony. It was more of a Phil thing in the last 3 years. Because again, before Phil, we made the playoffs actually. Before Phil.
Once.
No, we made the playoffs.
With Mike Woodson?
We lost, yeah, we lost, what do you call it? We were a playoff team in 2 of those years. We
2012,
lost.
Knicks.
Not just 2012, New York Knicks season log, hold on. I'll pull it up. I'm pretty sure we made the playoffs every year and lost in the first round. I'm very sure we made the playoffs every year and lost in the first round. Then we eventually won the first series against the Boston Celtics, our first series win since like fucking Ewing. And on top of that, I can't find it. Could you just look up the Knicks season? Look up Knicks season log, franchise log on Basketball Reference, and it should be up there, or Wikipedia.
So, 2010, 2011, 2012.
Yeah, 3 straight years.
And then previously to that, 2003.
2003.
2012,
so
we actually got
and there was more around it. Now, you can breathe. As Knicks fan, it's time to move on. Our team is not going to be good, but with Porzingis, Hernan Gomez, the New York Subway repair money, also known as Tim Hardaway Jr., and Frank Ntilikina, you have like a young core there. You can actually build something with that. The offense and the usage percentage will now go through Porzingis, so we can really see how much of a unicorn this guy is. How many wins will we have? Probably about 31. We're not going to be that much better or worse as a team, but now you can see signs of life. The offense doesn't get as clogged, and that is a negative word to describe what Melo was doing, but it's true, and he was the franchise player, he was the star, therefore, you get the blame. That's the territory it comes with. You don't get to push that blame aside, as I'm kind of doing towards Phil, but when asked 2 years ago, Francis said, if you had an option, and you could get rid of Phil today, or get rid of Melo today, what are you doing? And I said, Phil, immediately. I couldn't put up with the subtweeting, the childish ways, the acting about it, trading KP. It was mind-numbing. And the worst part of it all is if we did get rid of Phil a week and a half before, Malik Monk would be starting alongside whoever would be our point guard as a New York Knick, because Monk even said it himself, I was so 100% sure the Knicks were gonna draft me.
So it seems like the basis of this clip is don't blame Carmelo, blame Phil. When really, for a lot of Knicks fans, Jay, it's more than just the few years that Phil was there. Granted, Carmelo was still and is still an awesome player. But it was more so about the other years where there just wasn't enough around him in order to succeed in the weak Eastern Conference.
But you still made the playoffs, right? Yeah. So like if that's the borderline for like being a relevant team in the NBA, right? And not a laughing stock, it's just making the playoffs. So 2010, 2011, 2012. And by the way, like in the 66 game season, some people call it a fluke year. It worked. J.R. Smith was 6th man of the year. And Carmelo led the league in scoring, and they came out flying, and I really did think, who got the best? We beat the Celtics, not you, but me. My Knicks beat the Celtics. They built the Celtics, and then was it the Pacers who stopped them? The really good Paul George was a lot younger, but they had the Roy Hibbert.
Pacers won.
Roy Hibbert, was there a Lance Stevenson on that blowing in the ear of LeBron James?
That was the best teammate you could say that Paul George had.
True, 100%. So that was a competitive series, and of course, the Pacers put their boot on the throat of the Knicks.
So real quick.
Of course they do, they've been doing it since Reggie Miller. It was written on the wall. Why would the Knicks get a shot at the Heat? Why would we have gotten a shot at LeBron James' Heat? We didn't deserve a shot at the Heat. Not if we had to go through the Pacers. It doesn't matter what decade we're in. Calm down, Siri. Why do the Knicks suck against the Pacers?
I'm just trying to help you.
It's probably what Phil said to Carmelo. So
it said, hey, it doesn't matter what people are in. Calm down, Siri. Why do the next suck against Pacers? I tried.
There was a song by Knicks called Too Close. I believe that's the correct way of putting where Phil Jackson was to this organization.
Well,
and that's how
not in actual geographical proximity.
I think you understand what I'm saying.